Hello and welcome to TCG Buzz. Today we are having a conversation with the team of Gamefound about crowdfunding, about the amazing games you can find on their platform, and about the really cool things they do. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Can you guys tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm Alex Radcliffe. I'm CMO of Gamefound. You also might know me from YouTube, where I put up a lot of videos over there. There's a whole lot I could go into, but the short version is I like board games, and I'm involved in the board game ecosystem in multiple ways because of how much I like board games.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a junior new business manager at Gamefound. I am an RPG lady first and foremost. That is my favorite type of game in general. It is what I consider myself an expert in. When I'm not sending emails for Gamefound, I am an illustrator, a graphic designer, and a tabletop game designer.
Excellent. And for the GameFound audience, hi, my name is Jacob. I am the CMO of Speed Robo Games, the host of TCG Buzz for way too many years, a game creator and publisher, and all around super nerd for all things tabletop gaming. I've brought you guys on for this episode for one primary reason, which is answering the question, what the heck is a GameFound? Because GameFound, you guys have been around for a while, and people in my circle have been asking for me for years now, hey, what is GameFound? Do you recommend GameFound? Are they an alternative to other platforms? What's the story?
Yeah, so Gamefound is an all-in-one platform that is literally built for games. So that means crowdfunding, pledge management, late pledge, post-campaign stores, shipping management, VAT handling, and marketing tools all in one. We were built to solve the problem that a lot of other people on other crowdfunding platforms were seeing. They were like, what, I need something specifically for games. I want an ecosystem and an audience that is for my product. And we met that demand.
I see. You guys, the list of things you do is as extensive as it can be, I think, and I relate to that a lot. I do way too many things, so that's quite
Don't tell anyone,
impressive.
but we're trying to get into fulfillment as well.
That's awesome. Um, I know there are a lot of projects that have funded with you guys, worked with you guys. Can we rattle off a couple of the ones that my audience might be familiar with? Obviously, a lot of the people in who are watching this are like card game fans, but we've got plenty of board game fans as well, and tabletop RPG fans. The first game that comes to my mind would be Altered. Altered did a lot of campaign work with you guys. What are some games that the average gamer on the street might know?
I would say maybe anything by Stoneblade Entertainment, specifically Ascension. I think literally yesterday they just launched the Lord of the Rings Ascension. They met their goal in 4 minutes. Something that I'm really looking forward to as a self-proclaimed cozy gamer that is not really a TCG person most of the time is Grassfed, which is a farming TCG. I'm very excited
Oh,
about
that's
that.
cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton to go into as far as card games go. The Keyforge as well has the whole line that they
Hmm.
continuously put out. That line's still going strong. They have other things as well that they've dabbled into. We even just mentioned, Stoneblade and Ascension, Lord of the Rings. Keyforge has also done a Lord of the Rings game, although less in the card genre. Singularity is one that you might be a little bit less on people's radar, but it's it's TCG adjacent, not actually a TCG. And also, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on their name, but the people who do the Mindbug, they have a bunch of games that are very card game based. And then
Yeah.
also like Earthborn Rangers is another one. Like there's a lot. Like in the card game department, like we have a lot of different things branching all different genres, art styles, themes, mechanics, etc.
And you also have a lot of awesome board games of various types. There's some pretty big name IPs I've personally seen that have partnered with you guys for either an actual campaign or post campaign work.
Yeah, IPs have been fascinating. They've really been growing in the tabletop space in the past several years. Like
Boy,
it's been
that's
something
true.
that It's like when you look at the most funded campaigns, on a consistent basis, IPs at this point are doing like 50% of the most funded campaigns. And what's interesting is when IPs first started entering the space, there was a lot of skepticism because like, oh, congratulations, you're slapping that theme on that game, now it's going to be terrible. But time and time again, people have shown that, creators have shown that you can actually have a good game with a good IP if you really put love into it. And there's been a lot of growth there.
Absolutely. I think back to many terrible shovelware IP branded games I played as a kid, and a couple diamonds in the rough there. Like I remember some of the original Pokemon board games being absolutely incredible, but there are so many games I remember that was just like, oh, you slapped a popular thing on it, it's gonna be bad, and we are so not in that era anymore. There are really a lot of excellent IP based games out there, and it's clear that the people who work on them actually care about like representing the world that they're encompassing. That's crazy.
Yeah. I personally am a big fan of like the Elder Scrolls. So like Heroes of Tamriel by Chip Theory, I believe. They just hosted their crowdfunding through us. So that was really exciting for me on a personal level. I know also The Witcher, just in general, The Witcher. That was nuts.
So you rattled off like a lot of different things you guys handle. Can you explain like what some of those things actually mean? Obviously, everyone I think knows what a crowdfunding campaign is, and I know you guys, that's a large part of what you do. But for those who might not be familiar with the details of what that means or what the other parts of that process can be for a game studio or a game publisher or an independent game designer, I'd love to hear about that.
Sure. You
Yeah,
want to play tag on this one, Ella? Pick a feature and
sure.
then go into it, and I'll go back and forth.
Sure. I'll start with adfound because it's something that I am talking a lot with members of the RPG party about right now. It is a meta integrated ad system hosted by Gamefound, where it is one of the lowest like cost options on the market. When you hit 500 followers on your Gamefound page, you get access to this wonderful toolkit with like integrated analytics. I think, Alex, you can check me on this, but it's 5% of all revenue generated. That's how much AdFound will cost you. You don't have to have a Meta account to be a part of it. So you literally just let it go. And then, you can see what works, what doesn't, adjust it from there. You can also set a daily budget. So it works for like large scale and small scale creators alike. It's one of my personal favorite tools.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I have
Yeah.
very publicly complained often about how difficult it is to market as a game developer.
Yeah.
So tools that help with that are always a good thing.
I think sometimes, especially with smaller creators, it is unfortunate to have to expect game designers to also be marketing geniuses and also be graphic design geniuses. Uh, I feel like the more that we can just let it go and just see what works and work from there, the better.
Yeah. I'll do a quick breakdown of crowdfunding versus late pledge versus pledge manager. Crowdfunding is obviously the one that people are most familiar with. This is the idea of I have this idea, I have this game, I want it brought to life, let me crowdfund it. And that's where Gamefound will obviously come in and take care of that, or alternatively, whatever platform you're looking to use. But then late pledge is the next step of that, and it's still separate from pledge manager. Late pledge is kind of effectively, it's crowdfunding. We've created this magical window that this is this moment in time, these 2 to 3 weeks where like that's when your game goes up. And once upon a time, that was all that mattered, but that's not really how crowdfunding is done. Like Ella touched upon adfound, you need to kind of market your game before it ever goes live. You need people to know it exists so that by the time you go live, you're already set up for success. That's before crowdfunding ever begins. And also, as it's going on, or even late pledge as well, but you need to get that marketing down. Then you hit that crowdfunding window, those 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes if you're particularly interested in a long campaign, whatever it is you're looking for. But then when that's over, there's this weird aspect where we kind of focus so much on that specific period. But in theory, people can still keep getting your game. And that's where late pledge windows kind of open up. And that's where Gamefound kind of originally started as a late pledge and pledge manager before moving into crowdfunding. But late pledge is just a continuation of crowdfunding, just without the ongoing excitement, without the daily reveals, less communication and updates, less comment responses. It's kind of like that moment of time that we've isolated. We can still get the thing, but it's after the campaign ended.
I recently ended the campaign for our game, The Caster Chronicles, and immediately in the 24 hours after, we did not do late pledge for that project. We were inundated with, oh, I missed it by a couple of hours. Can I buy it right now? And it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's something weirdly magical at the very, very end of a project where, like, you kind of, I mean, honestly, Ella, if you want to touch upon Endgame next, like, you can go into Endgame, a whole different thing. But then before we get there, so late pledge is that window. And then the last aspect is Pledge Manager. Pledge Manager is where it's not just you're taking continued pledges, now you're going through the finale of it all. You're ready to, you're getting closer to shipping, you're ready to ship, you're collecting shipping rates, the shipping costs, whatever that would be, depending on VAT or taxes for whatever region you're in, those are going to be applied. It's kind of the management of, you've done the purchase, but we actually need to get this thing to you at some point, so we need to like take care of all that stuff. So there's these 3 separate windows of crowdfunding, late pledge, and pledge management, and very often people kind of only really think about that first window and don't really know a lot about those other windows until they dive into crowdfunding.
Absolutely. I think a lot of game developers and even smaller, up-and-coming, growing game companies struggle, especially with that last part.
Yeah, and with that last part, I feel like with the last part of the campaign itself, we have a tool called, again, oh my God, sorry, I'm blanking. Wow.
Endgame?
Endgame. Yes, thank you. We have a tool called Endgame, and that basically is right at the very end of the campaign. People are going to start backing it because, they want to get in on the buzz. We actually extend the campaign by about 10 minutes. Yeah? 10 minutes?
We reset, it's a small distinguishing, we reset the timer to 10 minutes. So effectively, every time you back, it resets the clock. It doesn't add 10 minutes, or those would be very long campaigns.
Yeah. Resetting the clock to 10 minutes. This has made for monumental funding increases. Again, creators of all sizes. I just did a talk with the creators of Hellbringer. That extended their campaign by like 18 hours. They were doing a live stream being like, oh yeah, it's the end of the campaign. Let's talk about it. Let's see this all wrap up. And at the end of it, he was like, I have to pick my kid up from school. I have to end this stream. Endgame is still going. Thank you guys for supporting me. I have to go. So again, just crazy beneficial. And that was his second campaign ever, I believe. First campaign on Gamefound.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty insane. Like on the smaller end, a passionate community can really keep it engaged. And like the thing I love the most about it is it often does fuel a passionate community. It doesn't really usually result in people upset about like, oh, FOMO and trying to get more money out of me. Like, you already back the thing. There's no trying to get more money out of you. You could do an add-on. Usually we caution creators very specifically. I mean, a creator can do what they want to do. We, on the Gamefound side, have cautioned creators, don't put gameplay things behind Endgame. Because what creators will do is like something like, oh, here's a pin that you can buy for $1. It says like Endgame backer, which is a cool little like memento to be part of this Endgame and like extend the timer. But we do warn creators, try not to do anything that would trigger FOMO, because the goal of this is to be a fun way to conclude the campaign. The goal is not to milk your backers. And again,
I like to hear that. And I like that you're saying, hey, you've got the freedom to do what you want, but there are best practices from our own experiences. As someone who does a lot of consulting for game companies, that is how things go for me. I always say there are, defined rules in our industry, but those rules absolutely can be broken if you have a good reason, Well,
we care about the industry to a large extent, and it's self-motivated. I'm not trying to say like we're charitable or whatever. Like, it was self-motivated. Like, I care about this industry, but even as a company, like, the industry doing well long term is more important than a single campaign managing to milk a few dollars from a backer. We've seen marketing techniques in crowdfunding in general over the years, and like this is I can do like hours of talking about this, but like even things like funding goals and how much is a funding goal fake or not fake? How do we manage that? What about stretch goals? How much of that is real versus perception? Like, there's a lot of things that have happened over the years, but honestly, when it comes to new tools, when it comes to like new marketing techniques, how the community reacts to it is incredibly important to me. Like a year or two ago, we saw the introduction of like pre-orders, like dollar pre-orders, like spend $1 now to get access to the thing. And like there's a lot of community backlash against that. A lot of people who felt like that was like, you asked me to put money down before the campaign even begins. And so we are very mindful of community reception. Like, sure, you as a creator have to do what's right for you. That's your job. We have to be mindful of the industry in general and give you advice on like, this will get you pushback. This will make people upset about you. It might result in more funding. FOMO can do that, but it will result in an audience that backs while being upset. And that could be a different, that might not be what you want. And so our advice very often is catered to what do we think is best for the long-term aspect of the industry and not what's best for the moment of this campaign.
And long-term for an individual studio as well.
Yes.
I've seen so many people go, yeah, we raised $500,000, and then they're, bankrupt in a year.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not trying to be a vessel for like the Oblivion horse armor of tabletop games. That is not our goal. Like the overall health of the board game and tabletop game industry in general is what helps us support you guys better. Like when you win, we win, and that is something that I think is across the board for all tabletop platforms, but something that Gamefound especially is trying to actively build tools to help bolster.
Yeah, and the easiest way to check this is things like, again, using Brass as a good example here. Brass did, I think they did 1.2 million in Endgame alone, which, again, unless you have a giant name or something behind you, that's, like, Hellbringer is almost, honestly, one of my favorite case studies because Hellbringer is a smaller creator who achieved massive success just with a passionate audience and bringing something to life. It's much easier to look at that and see yourself in that than it is to say, oh, congratulations, you have the #1 game of all time. Of course, I'm not doing 1.2 million in a game. But you could do a $500,000 project when your last one was $50,000 if you do it right. But going back to Brass, like if you do the math on it, if you do the math on the number of people who backed in Endgame versus like the dollar pin or whatever they had, like it clearly doesn't math out. The vast majority of that 1.2 million comes from new people who are finding the campaign in those final minutes. People who are like, they see this timer ticking down, they're like, oh, what's this? I missed it. It seems important. And just that extra, like going to yourself, we end the campaign and suddenly we have people asking to back, it captures that audience to a large extent.
That makes so much sense to me. I've always said that the most important times for a campaign are the first hour and the last hour. And I think that's universal across the board. If you look at anyone in our industry, you're getting a majority of your funding in one of those windows, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In the case of Brass Birmingham, the last hour lasted 8 days.
That's crazy. That's really cool. The next thing I want to ask you guys about, and forgive me, I did not tell you this beforehand because I didn't think to ask you about it until just now. Unfortunately, that's how my brain works sometimes. We did an episode, probably like 2-3 months ago now, where we made a bingo sheet of like bad habits in crowdfunding campaigns. Things that we see in crowdfunding campaigns that like make us cringe, essentially.
I love the idea of this.
And I can show you guys the thing later. It's great if someone audience like plug, hey, look, I'm a YouTuber. You can like go click it up there or whatever.
Well, see, because I'm a YouTuber, like immediately my first thought was like, build the bingo sheet, and then every week do a video where you just go over campaigns, and the first, like, as soon as you hit bingo, you're like, boom, 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 that one got bingo,
Believe me, I had the thought. I was
love it.
Oh, that would be great, but I don't like bullying people.
Well, so the way to do it where it's not bullying, again, because this is how I think. The way to do it where it's not bullying is you slightly change it. It's not bad habits of crowdfunding. It's just things you see in a crowdfunding campaign. And some of them should be bad habits. Some of them is, excessive FOMO marketing. But another one might be like, 20 videos from content creators. Like if you have 20, like there's always the campaign that like leverages like 1 million videos and the campaigns that do 4. Find the different things that may not be negative and then still bingo it out. Hit $1 million could be a bingo mark. That's not a bad thing. It's just one of the bingo scoreboards.
That's true. But the internet, they love negativity. So I want to ask you, like, what is, for each of you who are working in campaigns on the day-to-day, right? You're in the trenches with crowdfunding. What's a pet peeve that you have that you see in campaigns? One of those things where you sometimes advise people not to do it, or it's one of those, like, I'm not going to say anything, but that's kind of like, ooh, kind of things.
Yeah. Alex, do you want to start with this? I want
Sure,
a
sure.
baseline
So,
before I give my opinion.
so I'm gonna do two. The first one is kind of you touched upon already. I'm both CMO of Gamefound, but I am a backer as well. I back games, and on the backing side, again, there's three different lenses. There's like the Gamefound hat. There's the being supportive to the creators we're working with hat, and then there's my own personal opinion. On the Gamefound hat, I'm against the dollar pre-order thing. I think it's bad for the industry as a whole. As a creator hat, like I think there are times where it might be good for a creator depending on the audience, and sure, we can have those conversations. But then on the personal side, I hate the dollar pre-order. I hate it. But I'm not going to go too much into it because we already talked about it. I'll pick something else. We have something new. I think that in general, I would put it as bad practice as well as a pet peeve when a creator when the all-in for a project is vastly different than the initial pledge, and the audience doesn't know to expect that. That's the key thing for me. The audience not knowing to expect that. I remember when I first got, and some of this is my own personal memories of when I first got into these big box crowdfunding experiences, that I want to say Cthulhu Death May Die, which is one of my favorite games of all time, still have it to this day, backed every campaign, but like that was I think the first big box campaign I backed. It wasn't a small thing, it was like escalating. And like they had this pledge, I don't remember what it was, but $100, whatever it was. And then I was like, you know what? We're gonna go for it. I'm gonna spend $100 on the campaign. And then they dropped an add-on. And I was like, I was having a hard time justifying 100. Like now it's 125, but like fine, I'll go for it. And this kept escalating throughout the course of the campaign, and I didn't know to expect that. I didn't know that this was going to escalate in scope and scale. And as somebody who was trying to convince myself to spend money on this thing, they kept on bumping up the amount. And like, I don't want to not get that thing. It feels like part of the experience.
That's a great point, and not something I've thought about before.
Well, so the downside, because again, you're playing so many different hats here. Like on the creator side, if you just drop your all in from day one, it removes all the excitement from the campaign. And I think excitement during a campaign is important. I think being able to have new releases, new updates, new information as a campaign goes on, I think that's cool for your audience as well as cool for the creator. And as a backer, I think, like, again, you know, this is, Cthulhu was my first CMON campaign, but subsequent CMON campaigns, if they would have dropped the all in day one, it would have been less exciting to see what's coming this week or next week. So like how do you have both? And so the usual advice I give creators is to be very clear that there is an all-in. You can even have an all-in pledge without telling people what's in it yet. Or you can just say that we'll communicate through updates that we will reveal the all-in at the end. But if you kind of make it clear from the get-go, this is what we're showing today, things will come out, but it's not what it is, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You don't run the risk of people being shocked and surprised and frustrated that they have to either spend more or not get it at all, but you also have that drip of information that keeps it fun and alive.
Mine is a lot more just broad on the whole. And this is again biased because I am an artist for games. Alex knows where I'm going with this. When I see a campaign that is completely generative AI, I'm talking copywriting, mock-ups, images, that makes me as a backer think, what did you do?
Yeah.
I want to see, again, like you can talk about like the ethics and like where I stand personally based on where I stand from a Gamefound perspective. I want to see some level of personal involvement, preferably a high level of personal involvement. Why does this game matter? Why do you think it's important? What did you do behind this game? And this is specifically for indie creators. I understand that a lot of indie creators, it takes a lot of work, especially if you're a small team. You are what makes your game special. Put that in your campaign. Don't let a robot do it for you.
Did you just plug the episode I made specifically about 20 alternatives to using generative AI? Wow.
That sounds fascinating.
Awesome.
Thank you. Wow. So I'm so glad we planned that in advance.
Yeah, and again, I'm biased. I am an artist for tabletop games, so when I see things that I conceivably could have done, but it looks sloppy because they like didn't check it or didn't like review it, I was like, "Come on, man!" But again, I think that I need to know what makes your game special, and a lot of time that's the creator behind the game. So I'd like to see that.
That's great.
Thanks.
For me, since I want to be included too, number one on my list is when I've read through the entire doom scroll of a campaign and I get to the end and I still don't know what the game actually is. You know, like I'm like, okay, I got 8 paragraphs of your lore. I saw a bunch of pretty pictures. I saw this and I saw that. How does your game play? I don't know. You did not explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something Jeremy Howard. I once did a video on this on like pet peeves of crowdfunding, and he called it the three scroll test. You can put that on the bingo card. The three
Mm.
scroll test is you get three giant scrolls of the mouse wheel, make it as long as you want. If after three scrolls they haven't touched upon what the game is yet at all, like they're marketing it and they're not making a game.
Yeah. I will also say that, like, I think every scroll should have at least some kind of interesting visual in it,
Oh yeah.
just to like draw the eye around. That's just like a general piece of advice I like to give. I don't care, what the visual is. It could be a stock image, it could be like a piece of graphic design, it could be the logo for your game.
People
I
are
want to look at something.
visual learners,
Yeah.
and like we process images and colors far quicker than we do any way, shape, or form of text. And we've all seen, being in this industry, the campaign that is a block of text and that's it. You know, um, we touched briefly on marketing, and I'd really like to focus on that for just a bit, because of the fact that I do a lot of consulting for games, big and small. And as a marketing guy, talking to other people who know marketing, I'd like to take an opportunity to just real quick go over the facts of life when it comes to marketing your games, especially on crowdfunding and trying to stand out on a platform like Gamefound.
Yeah, I can take some of like the broader things, then Alex can help me out with the specifics here. I think that I will always recommend, especially if you're a small creator, start organic, find what works from your organic marketing efforts, and then use your budget wisely. Pay to push what works already organically.
Oh, absolutely. I've said
Yeah.
that many a time myself. For a personal anecdote, for the game Caster Chronicles, I'm mentioning it a lot because it's the most recent thing I did. We ran not ads, but just organic. I'm posting a thing on every social media platform, and some platforms did very well and responded to that very quickly, and some did not at all. And the catch there was they were not at all the ones that I thought they would be. So I then doubled down all my efforts, both paid and free, on the platforms that already worked.
Yeah. I also, it's like Alice was mentioning earlier. We have well, basically, that's something that separates GameFound from a lot of other crowdfunding sites in general is your pre-launch page and your late pledge / pledge manager are displayed alongside active campaigns. So you have eyes on your project literally all the time, whether that's on the homepage, whatever. I would always recommend to have about a 2 to 3 month period minimum for your project to be in pre-launch, just so you can get some organic traffic and see what works on the platform. I also, for Gamefound specifically, really recommend pushing updates with polls in them. People like interaction that doesn't take a
Polls
lot of effort. Yeah, we have polls. You can get an
in
idea.
updates?
Yeah. You
Wow.
you can get an idea of what your backers are interested in. You can prep your campaign around what your potential backers are interested in seeing. It's just a general community building tool, and I think that it's important to get that community built up sooner rather than later. I don't recommend having a pre-launch page up for over a year, but
Yeah, because
you
people
know,
then just forget about you, and then they get the, hey, that campaign you followed is live. You can buy it now. And they're like, who?
yeah,
What?
what? What was that? That sounds cool, maybe. But I think a sweet spot is, g- over. It's a pretty broad sweet spot, but 4 to 8 months ish.
Yeah, I mean everything Ella said. There's a ton. Marketing is such a broad conversation. There's a million things to go
Hmm.
into. I will say that for focusing, let's say specifically on GameFound, we actually wrote a great blog post. Our COO wrote a great blog post maybe a month ago, something like that, talking about some of the platform highlights and how to take advantage of it. Like it's one thing to just be on the ecosystem; it's another to know how it works and what makes the most sense. So to give you just several small examples, we have the sidebar in the platform, the spotlight section. When your campaign goes live, when it gets funded, when it hits the 48 hours, when it's the over, and when Endgame begins, all those things are just small little blips on the sidebar, and it gets the same amount of attention whether you are a multi-million-dollar campaign or a $100 funding goal. They all get the same amount of blips for just key touch points. Our feature section is going to have things that are generally performing well. I mentioned like imagery. Imagery is so important. At the end of the day, your game being good is amazingly important for building your reputation and for your second campaign. Your game looking good is what's important for that first campaign. So you kind of want both. Your first campaign looks matter more. Your second campaign and ongoing company reputation, building a good game matters. But one of the things in general that's very important to be aware of how it works so you can take advantage of is we have these bars on the homepage that effectively are the biggest risers, both in terms of funding and in terms of follower count, where we show, in the past 24 hours, these campaigns have seen this much funding. So it shows the top 10, not most funded games, but most funded in the last 24 hours. And the reason that's important is because those are areas where small things can shine. So again, you use an example, you might have Brass, Pittsburgh raising a ton of money, but mid-campaign, a regular day might still be like 40,000, which for some people is your entire campaign, but that's a mid-campaign, a regular day. And so when you go live, you might suddenly hit, 40,000 day one, or even if you hit 20,000 day one, you might be number 3 in funding because you just had your first day. So it's a great way where these key moments in time can effectively boost your campaign because of the nature of ebbs and flows of like every multi-million-dollar campaign has slow days. And this is very important for when you first announce your pre-launch page, because again, when one of the tracks is your audience growth, and so it shows, this campaign has received this many followers in the past 24 hours, and it has a snowball effect. Not only do you get followers, but now you're on the Gamefound homepage and you're getting more followers because people see that you're getting followers. And so that's a good, one of the biggest pieces of advice I'd give people is you don't just launch your pre-launch page and then have no real plan, because that's a good way to get 10 followers today, 30 followers tomorrow, maybe 50 followers here. Instead, kind of work with your lists, whether it's your Facebook page, your mailing list, whatever it is, build that pre-launch page, and when you're ready, really hit go. Treat it as a stronger moment in time, not just I can make it and then just deal with it later. Because again, it's that difference. You could get your 200 starting followers over the course of a month and never once show up on the homepage, or you can get your 200 starting followers in the first day or two, and suddenly you're on the homepage because you're like, this campaign just got 100 followers. So kind of read the blog post, but it really goes over a lot of the ways to take advantage of Gamefound's built-in ecosystem to get that further extra boost.
In my experience making games for the past years, a large part of how you grow is by directly interacting with other people who are into games, or people who make games, etc. Right? Being a part of gaming is how you grow and how you get those initial people in your mailing list, on your socials, etc. Without being a dick and just spamming your own things constantly, right?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff do you guys do for someone who's interested in Gamefound and wants to be a part of the community?
So when you say be a part of the community, like what do you mean? You just mean someone who wants to utilize Gamefound? Do you have something more in mind?
Dealer's choice.
So I guess I'll jump into something here. Our goal is to get creators to utilize Gamefound. Our goal is to be the go-to platform for tabletop games, something that we've made a tremendous strides on. We think we hit more than 50% of the tabletop market last year. I think we're only continuing to grow. Every year we manage to both maintain our creators, which is incredibly important, but bring new creators on board. And maintenance, I think, is so much more important. It shows that people are happy with their choice. It shows that people are happy to keep coming back. And on my own level, I care about this because I haven't gone fully to my background, but I've been in the board game space since 2011. I'm passionate about the hobby. I think Gamefound really came out of the woodwork, and I didn't join it from day one. I remember actually on my YouTube channel, I was interviewing the CEO, be like, what are the plans? What are they doing? And at first I was like, you have no hope of succeeding. And then they talked about their goals and their ambitions and the features they were bringing to tabletop, and I was like, you're right. Tabletop needs this, and needs someone that actually is going to be innovating and caring about the system. So I selfishly just like seeing it grow. I tell people this all the time. I don't get paid more if you use Gamefound, but I have a sense of pride when you use Gamefound. And so when we're bringing creators on board, one of the biggest things we'll do is we try to find a way to give you something to show that we care, that you particularly are here. So we have our published rates, but then we find those extra leeways. Can we give you a marketing credit? Can we give you a discount on rates? So what is it we can do to work with whatever your needs are? And we do this, and this is the biggest thing. Again, it's not just about bringing people on board. Time and time again, we have seen people who chose the platform didn't talk to us about anything. They just chose the platform. They started a campaign, they started the pre-launch page. Suddenly, before you know it, I see, that page has 1,000 followers. No one on the sales team talked to you. And so we'll reach out to creators on a regular basis. And to be very clear, I can't guarantee we do this to everyone, but if you didn't, by all means, reach out. But like on a regular basis, we'll touch base with people who already chose Gamefound and we'll say, okay, great, what perks can we throw your way? What incentives? Like, we don't want to penalize people who are so excited to choose us that they didn't even talk to someone on the sales team, they just started. And so like we really care about the community and we try to keep it even-handed. It's not just a sales tactic. It's let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's set you up for success.
That's great to hear, because as someone who has used Kickstarter a lot, my interactions with them for the 5 or so years I've been working on campaigns with them have been, if I had to describe it in one word, sparse. You know, I've consistently worked on that platform for years, and even talking to a person can be very difficult. And certainly their ability to help you with your campaign, it feels quite limited in my own experience. So I like to hear that you guys are trying something different.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we have continuously found is because, and this is like one of those things that's always uncomfortable to say out loud, but like it is what it is. It's always easier to give time to the multi-million-dollar projects than the $30,000 indie creator, because the multi-million-dollar projects provide a lot more platform revenue. This is true whether you're Kickstarter. It's true whether if you're Gamefound too. It doesn't make a difference. The people who are able to bring in the most revenue will get that extra level of attention. One of the challenges that we've constantly tried to juggle is how do we give smaller creators as much attention as we want to, while trying to make it economically make sense. And some of these things, like we recently have the RPG party that Ella's handling. That's like a huge area where it's like, okay, great, let's try to shine a spotlight on smaller creators. Adfound is fascinating because Adfound was originally created to target smaller creators, to give them that level of how can we help you market, but we only have so much bandwidth on our marketing team. Like, how can we really help people with a lower rate? It happens to have evolved in the sense that Adfound delivers a strong enough ROAS, a return on ad spend, that many of our larger creators use it too. But originally, the entire pitch was how can we make a tool that better serves our smaller creators? And so again, it's always going to be a complicated ecosystem, and I don't want to like pretend that like, I want to answer every email. I want to give everyone, well, I do answer every email, but I want to give everyone the same amount of time of day. But it is always a balance as to how do you make it all work, and we're always trying.
Yeah, on that, I mean, I know when I met with you, I said from the jump, I was like, tell me what your goals are so I can help you meet them. I think that crowdfunding is a game of risks. It always has been, it always will be. And my job as somebody is to help mitigate those risks and make it so your game is the best that it can be. I can't guarantee anything except the fact that
No.
I'm going to try really, really hard to make your game succeed. And I'm going to be in your corner, regardless of size. I think that where I'm at right now in my Gamefound journey, since taking over the RPG party, this has changed a little bit, but it's like while I have the time and the bandwidth to help out people of various sizes, I'm going to do so. With the RPG party specifically, we have leveraged our experience in the industry to partner with really, honestly, huge creators. I mean, I'm a big Critical Role fan. I was fangirling in a marketing meeting with Ross Thompson and Darcy Ross because we had two of their marketing experts talking about marketing RPGs and like working with influencers regarding their indie projects. Some of these people had never crowdfunded before ever. Some of them had run a few Kickstarter campaigns or backer kit campaigns, but were looking for a stronger toolkit. Some of them just wanted like some general advice and had a really great campaign that they were ready to go. We also, we did the same thing with other indie creators. I am lucky to be based in Philadelphia, which has a really huge indie RPG community. So before even joining Gamefound, I was an intern at a company called WeirdWorks. They are great people.
Yeah, yeah.
But WeirdWorks, it was a Gamefound client. And so they invited me to a mixer at PAX Unplugged. And I met a bunch of my now bosses and coworkers when I think I was like 19 or 20. So, and the people remembered me, even though I was like the lowliest intern being like, I really like art and I like tabletop games. This is so fun. But people remembered me and they supported me and they kept me moving to now I'm here in charge of this initiative. I think that in general with Gamefound, people assume that it's all about the big dogs because that is what, gets pushed. Of course, people are going to hear about these crazy big campaigns happening on Gamefound because they have crazy big attention to them. But I do think that we serve all, at least I can say on Alex and I's end, we do serve all sizes, all shapes, all creators.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at Gamefound and really diving deep into campaigns for my own enjoyment, I saw so many campaigns that were, hey, I raised $8,000 or 8,000 euros, right? I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, that's great. Though there are tons of campaigns of that size that are, designed to raise, $10,000, $20,000, and you can find them pretty easily, and that's a good thing. It that's the amount you intended to raise, right?
Yeah.
you, you know what I mean? And I think there's this concept, and I don't know how much of it you guys get in the board game space, but the TCG industry is so rife with it, where people plan to be the next Magic the Gathering, and anything other than that is seen as a failure. Um, that can happen with some people, and I've heard people when asked, "Hey, what's a good amount? That my small little indie game I made by myself, how much should I expect to raise to make it a thing, right?" And they're like, you need $200,000. It's like, not necessarily. You got to do what's right for you and the size that you are currently at.
Yeah. I think that like when it comes to like making a game stand out, like in a genre like TCGs, it's like I was talking about previously, where it's like with AI, I'm like, I want to see what makes this game special. I want to see your work. You need to figure out the why before anything else. I don't think a successful TCG is made from being like it's Magic the Gathering, but blank. I think it
Yeah,
needs an original mechanic. I think it needs that like special spark or sauce or whatever you want to call it that you came up with.
I always use sauce.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I need to know as a backer what experience can be built that I can't get anywhere else. So I feel like, everybody wants to be the next Magic the Gathering. As somebody, I like Magic the Gathering. I think it's great. I don't need a second one. I
Mhm.
need something different. I need something unique, regardless of like the scope and size of it.
Now, before we end this episode, there's one last thing I'd really like to do, which is to just shout out some games that are found on Gamefound. I did some looking. I found a game that I really liked, and I hoped you guys could find some games that you personally are just fans of that you'd like to recommend that people check out as well. I can start with a game I picked that just looking on Gamefound, because there's so many cool games that you can find on Gamefound of any interest. And the one I found that I'm like, oh, that's right up my alley is a game currently available, currently running for 23 days left. So it should definitely probably still be in its campaign when I am done editing this, maybe, sort of, you never know. Called Council of Serpents. It is a like a political backstabbing game where you and up to three other players are trying to cause rival fighting houses to collapse. You are not playing as these like political houses, these family houses. You're playing as the secret back end, secret cabal of Illuminati who are running things in the shadows, and each trying to get one of the houses to collapse. And I think that's super neat. A cool idea for a game.
It's awesome. I've got obviously just I have to shout out my beautiful babies in the RPG party, the class of 2026. We have a blog post about it. We have a link that links to all of these wonderful, wonderful projects. It is, I mean, some of the best work that I've seen from these up and coming indie creators just ever. So please check out every single one. We've got everything from sci-fi to birder mysteries, um, like cyberpunk, stand-up comedy ones. We've got
Yeah,
everything.
you
But when it
talked
comes to
to
like,
me. You talked
oh
to me
yeah,
about
sorry,
that
continue.
one before we started, and it sounded really fun. What was it called?
Yeah,
The stand-up comedy one?
it is called Road Warriors by DGB Games. It's something that I was really excited about, just because it's something you don't see in the RPG space a whole lot.
Yeah.
But when it comes to board games specifically, I am a pretty big history nerd. So when I found a Euro game inspired by the Voynich manuscript by Salt and Pepper called the
Oh,
Voynich Puzzle.
awesome.
It is. It looks so gorgeous. I need to see if they're okay. They are in their. Oh, they just closed their pledge manager, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that I am very excited for that one to be
That sounds
released. It's
so cool.
by
Now
Salt and
I
Pepper.
want I
Yeah.
want a copy. That sounds awesome.
Well,
I
not to shout out, our competitor, but again, it's also someone who made the game. But I believe you can currently get the Voynich Puzzle over on Kickstarter. 25th Century Games works with Salt and Pepper Games, and I believe they're doing the second print run as part of a larger campaign over on Kickstarter.
Oh, cool. Rising tide raises all ships.
Exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, on my end, I picked two. I picked the big one and the medium one. A medium one, so I'll explain that one shortly. But I have the Lord of the Rings Ascension, which actually falls into, like, it's funny because we talked this at the beginning, but I've played Ascension and I think it's fine. But, like, I never loved the theme at all. The gameplay's solid, but the theme never pulled me in. I didn't care about the cultists. The art style wasn't so for me. But I love the Lord of the Rings in general, and so now I'm like kind of hoping, in a weird way, instead of being scared off by the IP is actually pulling me into this one. Like, every Lord of the Rings game I've played the past 2 years has delivered for me, and like, I'm very curious whether this can make Ascension a game that I love, or whether no, it won't be enough to push it over. But then on the smaller / medium side, and I say medium because it has 6,000 followers, but launching tomorrow, or in your current present tense, depending on when you listen to this, launching tomorrow or today or yesterday, we have Towers of Yoma. It has 6,000 followers, but it's from a new indie creator. I think he has 1 or 2 designs under his belt. I think this is his first game as his own company. I could be wrong. But it's basically a tower defense game. It's got beautiful art. I love tower defense, and I think it's a underdone genre in the board game space. I think the few games that do it, there's very few that I think do it really well. And Towers of Yoma, I have no clue if it does it well. I haven't played it, but it looks beautiful, and I'm very interested in it.
Awesome. I had a really good point, and then I forgot it. So,
those are the best points in life.
yes.
All good.
Well, what I want to say is thank you guys so much for joining me. And before we sign off, if any of the game creators out there have questions about Gamefound or are interested in working with Gamefound on a campaign, how can they get in touch with you guys?
Many ways. I'll go ahead.
Yeah, so if you want to reach out to me personally, you can reach out to e.carter@gamefound.com. Again, my expertise is RPGs, so if you've got an indie RPG, please contact me. If you have general inquiries, I believe they can be sent to business@gamefound.com.
Or connect@gamefound.com.
Or, sorry, connect. They can be sent to
Business would be the general mailbox. We recently built our own little sales mailbox for connect@gamefound.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I can be reached at a.radcliffe@gamefound.com. Like I said earlier, I do actually reply to every single email. We'll figure out how we can help you or what we can do for you. But we're excited to work with anyone who wants to work with Gamefound.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us.
So much fun.